when a dog is very itchy and uncomfortable, just like you are, if you're stuffed up and you're not sleeping well, you're not getting the oxygen that you need, your skin is irritated, you're going to be a little grumpy.
Yes.
And you're going to be a little reactive with other dogs or with cats or
Well,
other people in the home.
And also these dogs have been cooped up inside and not necessarily been exposed to all of these allergens. And now we're starting to go out and go for walks and like have all of these things. So it's like, well, yeah, they're starting to like be exposed to the things that make them.
That's been dormant for 4 months.
Oh my dog. Dog. Oh my dog.
Oh my dog, hey.
Oh my dog, hello.
We're back.
Back again.
We're going to talk some really exciting things today and
pertinent seasonal things.
That's right. We do want to start out with a quick reminder, and then we'll read something fun from our inbox.
Yes. Quick reminder, we have been nominated, as we mentioned in our last podcast, for Best Nonprofit and Best Place to Volunteer by the People's Choice Award for Des Moines. Voting is now open. It is open until May 7th, and there will be links to our voting site, direct link in our site and the podcast notes. Please vote for us. Vote for us every day.
Yes, you can vote every single day.
Once a day from
for
any
us,
IP address.
This is going to place our name in several publications, which hopefully can help us find more donors, more fosters, more adopters, all of the things.
It also helps us when we are applying for grants and things like that, that we have these certain accolades and blah, blah, blah. So it's all about making more things happen.
Money for the mutts.
Money for the mutts.
That's right. And then we received an email. It's been a while since she's reached out, but you remember old Flo?
She's so good.
Flo is that old-ass golden retriever who got adopted by our favorite media personality up in Wisconsin.
Morgan McCarthy.
Yes.
I love her emails, and they always take a hot minute to read, but I'm going to go ahead and read it to you guys. So, from Morgan, she writes, "It's Flo. I figured it was about time I reached out to let you know what my life has been like since I left Natasha Shitshow Sawyer and landed in Wisconsin. We both know my new mom can be a little ... verbose. If she sent the update, I would likely use all the words in the English language and borrow some from others. Listen, she means well." She's not exaggerating. You think she rambles on to you guys? Hell, even I roughly have 5,432 names. And each one of them is dumber than the last. Insert a very adorable picture of Flo with some sprinkles of snow on her face.
Oh.
On top of the gray snow in her face.
Yes, she's a nice old gal.
They started calling me OG, as in the oldie goldie OG. Sometimes just Ooge. And most recently, Ooge McDonald, crickets, as in Ooge McDonald had a farm. Yeah, so there's that. You feel my pain? Beyond the names, though, I gotta admit, life is good. Mainly the food situation is good around here. When I first arrived, it was a few dismal days of insulting kibble. Now, I'm happy to report that I now have my own crock pot.
Oh, that's cute.
My current favorite is chicken and steak tips with rice cooked to a simmer in beef broth. This dog eats better than I do.
Seriously.
Frankly, if she keeps scooping me this, that bitch can call me whatever she wants. Now about these sisters of mine. I never used to like other dogs. Bitches be crazy, am I right? But these ones here, we tight. The lab is equally interested in food, and I am thrilled that she also seems to be body confident and has never once body shamed me for sitting and staring longingly at the treat jar, even after I had 2 suppers. That kind of bond makes besties. Which leads me to a confession. My toxic trait is I can't be trusted around mashed potatoes. Same. Where my carb queen's at. Mom got me stuffed potato thinking it was a funny substitute. Hardly. That shit ain't funny, lady. But here I am with my tater. Insert picture of her with a stuffed toy tater potato.
That's just cruel.
Now about my other sister. The other one, 2 words, young golden. She's the reason blondes get a bad reputation. But she's a blast to party with, toys for days, and she even got me out on the dance floor for the cha-cha slide. Asterisk. Or at least the doggy version of it, which is just mouthing and wrestling in the middle of the floor.
Oh.
Anyway, now I am getting long-winded. Now. It must be from living here, which aside from the constant attention, kisses, improv songs made up about me, and rotating roster of names isn't half bad. So that's the pup date. Thanks for rescuing old ladies like me so I can retire in luxury and occasionally get hand-fed mashed potatoes. Signed off, Flo, OG, Ooge, Cheesecake, Ooge, McDon, don't forget. Forget it. You get the idea. Also, I try to stop her, but she can't be held back. Mom wants to say hi too. Excuse me while I nap through her bragging about me. So then Morgan goes on to say, hello, Kara and Holly. Crazy Scony? Golden mom here.
Like Wisconsin's.
Oh, there it is.
This is why I have to listen and I can't read. I cannot read when she writes
I asked
to us.
Kara, I was like, did you read the email from Morgan? She's like, no, you're going to have to read it to me. Just wanted to check in and say thanks again for all you have done and continue to do in the never-ending adventure of dog rescue. You're very welcome, Morgan. It's an adventure for us, too. This little nugget of lumps and sass is the stinking best. We love her so much, and I had to laugh at the last podcast when you mentioned your daughter's observations about Goldens. 1, sure, fine all day. 2 Goldens together, complete chaos. I have no idea how or why, but it happens. Cam speaks the truth.
I love that.
I am not a math person, but the golden numbers don't add up. When more than one golden are in the same place, the wheels fall off. I call it phenomenon. They lose their brains. You can imagine what this means for our home on any given day. Assholes. But man, do we love them. Thanks again. Keep on doing what you do exactly how you do it, M.
Oh.
Asterisk, speaking of being bad at math, we are not looking to add another dog, but I am enamored with Y and her story, Winona.
Yeah.
I so hope she finds someone who will take a little time to help her with her meals and she can live her best life. I will be following her story, and if she needs me, I can whip up some soft potatoes and be their stat.
Oh.
Speaking of Winona, she is still adoptable.
Right. We've had a couple of dud applications. Well,
we have one slightly solid lead, although it's slow
rolling. Slow burn.
Slow simmering tea. We really hope that she can find a spot to land soon. I think my parents are doing the best fostering job that Winona could have ever asked for.
Oh my goodness gracious. Winona would be starving to death if she was at my house, first of all.
And I just obviously saw her yesterday. Well, 2 weeks ago now when this podcast airs, and she is so happy and so healthy. She's at an exceptional weight right now. Her eyes have cleared up. She is happy. In fact, Tater, my parents' chihuahua, little chihuahua that they adopted from us, was playing with my brother's dog that he had brought, and Winona was very jealous. And she was like barking at the other dog.
Wait a minute.
And it's like, wait a minute, that's my friend. Don't play with my friend without me, but I don't want to play with you either. So she's a sweet little dog.
She's just so beautiful and the perfect little size.
She's so cute. And, you know,
I
do have that one application I need to follow up on, but I'm waiting for April's parents to
say yay or nay.
Decide what they're going to do. So
yeah. We have this idea of where would be her ideal spot, and we think we found it, ? If they're in. But I think they've had some sickness going through their house, and it's just been a little bit of a slow go. But, man, she deserves the best, and she really has gotten the best since she landed with us, specifically your parents. Holy crap, but she needs that forever. So
yeah, when it comes to dogs in my parents' home, I severely wish that Winona would replace one of them. Because Jack can be kind of an asshole.
Can't we just set him free to handle the moles?
But anyway, I really, I hate to put my parents in that situation too. Like, they didn't sign up for this shit. They, honest to God, that morning that I
It was
picked,
just a last minute thing. You were like, oh my gosh, I have all these things to do. Help me. And then,
because it was a Monday,
yeah.
and Mondays are my busiest day because I have a side gig that I do on Mondays, and then we had recording that night.
Yeah.
And this was that morning, and I had the adoption for Roy that morning, and I was just like, can you please just hold on to this dog for like 12 hours? And it's turned into like
Months.
3.5 months.
Yeah.
So I feel bad that they kind of got wrapped up in that situation, but
They're doing
at
such a
the
good
end
job.
at the end of the day, it's the best spot for Winona,
Yes.
and so I like sorry, not sorry.
If you
And
don't
when my
like
mom eventually listens to this, because it's gonna, she's like months behind on podcasts, but when you eventually listen to this, thank you,
Thanks,
thank you,
Mom.
thank you, Mom. I
You
really
s-
appreciate
you
it.
saved her life.
You
Like,
really did,
yeah.
and you're doing such a great job. And I know you don't hear that often enough,
Yeah.
and it's just one of those things.
Yeah. This has been such
And
a.
I'm not ignoring you, but I don't like she needs to be with you. So
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Hopefully, by the time she listens to this,
Winona's adopted.
in another
Yeah.
home. Yeah. I know my Cam was like, I stopped listening after that one episode. She said it. I was like, Cam, that was episode 4. And she was like, well, you talk a lot around here, and I just I don't want to listen anymore.
I got in my mom's vehicle 2 weekends ago when she was down at the lake. We took her Jeep
Yeah.
up to the clubhouse, and the podcast just automatically started playing. Like, I don't know how that works because my cars are too old to
Yeah.
And it was like a podcast from, I don't even remember when. I'm like, Mom, you are so far behind. She's like, I know. I just like, you guys are so funny. I just like listening to you.
Well, what I tell people is like, listen to the most recent one, and then if you miss a few, then you can go back. But then you'll know what's happening, you know? But there's no like line of events. You can just bop around in this podcast. There's nothing.
That's
to
true,
know.
too.
Yeah. We're not telling a story, really.
Although this episode is very relevant to the season.
Yes. So right now, when this episode comes out, we are talking spring in Iowa.
Yes. Everything's blooming. Everything's pollinating.
Yes. And if you're a human with allergies, you know how that feels. However, if you are a dog with allergies, you are relying on your humans to help you treat your symptoms.
Mhm.
I have the most allergy-ridden pug in all the land. We go.
Pugs are notorious for that shit
terrible.
anyway.
Dolores, disgusting eyes. They stick straight out of her head. They go all kinds of bonkers. She has not one allergy. She's completely healthy. There's nothing wrong with her. She looks like she should be a genetic mess, but she's fine. Like, she's nothing wrong with her. Juji, who looks like the healthiest pug you ever saw. Like, he's trim, he's muscular, he is not at all overweight, like, he has a good snout so he can breathe, like, all of the things, and he is an allergy queen. And so we have to go in and get quarterly allergy shots, and then he has ear meds at least every other month, and we have to clean out his wrinkles because he gets, from his allergies, he gets inflamed wrinkles under his eyes every day. And he takes a Claritin every day.
Jesus.
But the reason we bring this up, and there's a few things we'll talk about that you can do to kind of help your dog, one of those being like a daily allergy pill like Claritin.
Benadryl.
Constantly, we are getting calls, and some of my favorite rescues actually have been dogs that have been so far into their allergy lives that they have had like severe skin conditions. I love a skin condition dog. I can fix it
I
and no
know you
problem. Like, get in my house, eat a standard diet every day that is just not an allergy inducing diet, and like a lamb or something like that doesn't.
There's a lot of dogs that are allergic to poultry.
Chicken. A lot of dogs are allergic to chicken,
Yes.
so we feed lamb at our house. Fish diet, salmon diet is a really popular one for allergy dogs as well if they don't do well on lamb, but ours do good on lamb. But you give them a good diet. You get them on, usually what happens with allergies is you got all this stuff happening, all of this like snot and bacteria and things like that, and then
Hard
it'll
to
turn
breathe,
into
cough.
yeast infections after that.
Yeah.
So get them on a good antibiotic or an allergy med just to
Hopefully
knock
you
everything
thwart
down.
it before it gets to that point, but yes.
But yeah, the point of this is like if you notice your dog sort of starting to suffer, go in right now because it's going to be a lot cheaper than if you're having to like do all of this like stuff to catch up.
And I think a lot of people are scared to give over-the-counter medications to their dogs, but I'm here to tell you, Benadryl is fine for your dogs. 1 milligram per pound.
Yes, and consult your veterinarian.
Of course, but up to 40 milligrams per dog per day. So with fosters, when we kind of start to see, especially this time of year and in the fall, allergic reactions, snotty nose,
chewing on their paws, that's a big one.
Eye discharge, hot spots, things like that.
Nasal discharge, like the sneezing.
Yep. We always say give them some Benadryl. That's over the counter. Most people have it in their cupboard. I always advise to add fish oil. I always advise to switch their diet off of chicken or poultry. Some people feed ducks, so any sort of poultry. If you could get on a lamb, that's great. Beef is fine too.
Beef sometimes will have an issue.
Yeah, because there's chicken byproducts.
Right.
Read your labels.
Right.
But in a lamb situation, there's, less of a chance to have that chicken byproduct. So
yeah, salmon is really, really good.
Salmon's very good. All of my dogs get fish oil every day, period, year round. That's.
She's got the gallon jug with the.
Yep, you can get that off Amazon in a gallon. I just have it on a 3-month schedule.
Yeah.
They get a squirt a day. My dogs are around 10 pounds apiece, so everybody gets a squirt. Keeps their coats healthy, keeps their skin healthy. Helps with the moisturizing from the inside out.
So yeah, like if you're noticing that your dog is having dry skin as a part of allergies, that is really, really
Fish oil is very good.
Here's one thing I see people doing though. Your dog's itchy, so you bathe it a lot. Doesn't necessarily help. Oatmeal bath is one thing that people say like, oh, like if your dog's itchy, an oatmeal bath will help. An oatmeal bath oftentimes will induce a yeast infection because it creates too much moisture under that like first few layers of the skin, especially if you're bathing too often. So there's definitely a fine line. There are some
There's a medicated shampoo that you can get from your vet, Metronidazole.
And you can get that off Amazon too. And that is better to do that maybe like once a week or once every other week rather than bathing your dog every day because it's itchy.
And there's the shampoo and there's the mousse.
Oh, I didn't know about the mousse.
Yes, it's a foamy, you press it and it's foam, like the foam hand soap.
Like in the early 2000s when we made our hair crunchy.
Yes, 2004 or 5. Yeah, throwback. You can just rub that through their coat too.
I didn't know that. That's good. I should get some of that.
Yep.
So that's good.
If you have known allergies, you can get on board with your vet for a prescription of Apoquil.
Apoquil is like the cut down, gonna destroy the allergy. It's kind of hard on the dog though, so we want to like.
It's not a long-term situation. No. And then like Kara's dog, you can also get the injectable, which sounds intense. But it's like once every 3 months, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember when Roy got adopted and his adoptive mom had an allergic reaction.
Yes.
And she was going to have to go in for shots.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't the allergic one, she was. That gets a little more intense.
Right.
But
my nephew has to go.
Same situation in reverse.
Get shots every week because he's so allergic to everything. I'm like, oh, my lands. But so, I mean, Juji for us, like we've just put that into our budget. It is what it is. Like, we know that he's going to have that. However, I was reading that after so long, that stops working as well.
Yeah, they build up an intolerance. Yeah.
So I was thinking, I was going to ask when we went back if maybe we should do like an in-between round of Apoquil or something like that to try and help during like this season because he's pretty itchy right now. So.
And just, be aware of that when your dogs are having, reactivity this time of year. When we get bat phone, there's seasons of influx in bat phone calls.
Yes.
Okay. So German Shepherds were about a month ago when their coats started coming in.
Yeah.
They started shedding everywhere.
My God, you're right. That's why we had so many German Shepherd
and
calls.
All the German Shepherd owners were like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Get rid of this dog. And I was like, okay, just take it to the groomer and give it a month.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And right now you're seeing dogs that are being reactive, and to people that aren't aware or
Mhm.
maybe aren't picking up on the cues, when a dog is very itchy and uncomfortable, just like you are, if you're
Mhm.
stuffed up and you're not sleeping well, you're not getting the oxygen that you need, your skin is irritated, you're going to be a little grumpy.
Yes.
And you're going to be a little reactive with other dogs or with cats or
Well,
other people in the home.
And also, these dogs have been cooped up inside and not necessarily been exposed to all of these allergens. And now we're
Yep.
starting to go out and go for walks and like have all of these things. So it's like, well, yeah, they're starting to like be
Yeah.
exposed to the things that make them.
They haven't, that's been dormant for
Yes.
4 months.
Yes.
And also, it's rainy season.
Yeah.
And so dogs are either aren't wanting to go outside or owners aren't wanting to go walk them outside.
Yeah.
Understood. Totally get it. I'm not one for walking out in the rain either, but it all of that feeds into the dynamic. So
Yes.
just be aware of that. Be patient with your dogs. They're going through all the same shit you are.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm suffering from seasonal allergies. You know, I was down to the lake last weekend and was pulling weeds and cutting branches, and I cut this big branch off of this pine tree, and we pulled it off with my cub cadet, like it had to be pulled down.
Yeah.
And it was like a pollen explosion in the sky. It was wild. I'm like, Mom, look at that. It's like a whole bloom of pollen just coming off of this tree and floating over. I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
just give them some grace.
Yeah.
They're all suffering like the
Yes.
rest of us,
But
and help them out.
yeah, get help right away. If you start seeing a hot spot or itching, like the next thing that will happen is in 3 months we're going to get a call with a dog that has 90% of its hair missing because it's gotten so bad that it's gotten an infection.
Talk about hot spots a little bit.
Yes.
So a hot spot is when a dog like consistently fixates on a specific location, and they will lick it and chew at it and lick it until it's raw.
And then create a secondary infection.
Right.
And there's a lot of bacteria that happens in a dog's mouth.
Yep.
So once they're licking and chewing, it gets worse, worse, and worse. And then
it gets embedded.
Yes. And it continues, and it's a cycle because they can't leave it alone.
Right. Because it hurts.
Because it hurts, and then, yeah. So then we see this hot spot. Then the hot spot turns into a greater skin infection that will spread further, and then we're going to start seeing like this major patterned hair loss. And then the owner starts to get really frustrated because they're going to the vet and they can't get ahead of it.
And the whole time the dog is increasingly being reactive.
Yes, and more uncomfortable every day, and hence the reactivity. And so, yes, if you start to see your dog seeming uncomfortable, don't think, oh, well, it's just allergies, it's going to go away. You might be able to talk to your vet and get them on a 3 cent a day Zyrtec situation. Right. The vet tells me, they're like, oh, yeah, you can give him Claritin every day. And it does really help. I notice if I like forget to do it, you know, I'm like, oh crap, yeah, he needs his Claritin. And it's not an expensive thing, but if you just keep ahead of what's happening, you can really stop a lot of like major medical expenses.
Yeah. And especially if you're one of those people that likes to go walk in the woods this time of year, morel mushroom hunters.
Yes.
You know, we're all walking the woods and we're taking our dogs with us because they're going to have so much fun and it's so great. And it is. I think it's wonderful. Take your dogs. Give them Benadryl before you leave the house. Or when you get back.
Flea and tick preventative.
Right. So flea and tick, especially ticks, in the state of Iowa, we used to have a cycle for ticks, and they would die off in the wintertime because we would have a hard winter. And we are now in a weather pattern where we don't have that hard winter anymore. I remember as a kid, there would be snow on the ground at Thanksgiving. Almost every year.
As a kid, we had so much snow that we could walk on the snowdrift, and we had a ranch-style house. We could walk on the snowdrift to get to the roof of the house. Like, that's how big of snowdrifts we had. And this year we had one snow.
Yeah.
That was, like, gone in 2 weeks.
We are just, and not getting into politics or climate change or any of that bullshit, but you can't deny.
Times is a-changing.
I mean, you can't deny that we're in a different weather pattern here in Iowa, and it's just continuing to go further north. And our winters are much more mild, and that means that ticks are surviving throughout the winter. So there's really not a die-off period. And I notice an incredible difference from where I'm at in Madrid, just north of the metro, as opposed to down in southern Iowa in Ringgold County, which is one county above the Missouri line.
Yeah.
down there, I pulled off 16 ticks in one night from me, my dogs, and then, the dogs come into bed and you wake up and there's a tick crawling on your pillow and, shit happens. So
You're not really selling me coming to stay at your property.
there are lawn treatments for ticks, things like that. If you're into that, if you're not into that, there's holistic treatment treatments.
But if
for
you're
that
going in a place like where you are, like, and your
if
dogs
you're going
are
to the
there,
woods, if you're going mushroom hunting, if you're going on hikes, things like that,
peppermint spray
they're
is
out.
not going to help you.
No.
You're going to need the hard stuff.
No. And so we're recording this April 21st. This has come out 2 weeks from now. So 2 weeks from now it's going to be full blown.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Full blown. It's off the charts now.
Yes.
So as a reminder, just put a reminder on your phone right now, the first of the month, every month from now until. Well, I mean, you could argue doing it all year round, but I don't do it from like December through March.
I will say I don't do it December through March, but the vets will tell you to do that because if we have a warm day and you take your dog out on a walk, there's likely active ticks out, know, and it's not going to be as intense. And my dogs, they play on the turf at Paws and Pints and then in my yard, which we treat our yard, which, by the way, there is a treatment you can get to spray your yard for fleas and ticks, and we do that because my greatest fear on this planet is ticks. I hate them and they freak out and I just can't do it.
See, I've lived with it my whole life, so I grew up in the woods, so it doesn't freak me out. But I remember distinctly, I was riding the bus one morning as a kid and there was a tick in my part of my hair.
Oh.
And one of the other kids on the bus saw it, and I was like, from that point on, I was deemed like
the tick girl.
The tick girl. I mean, like, what am I gonna like?
I
live in the woods.
I think
what do you want me to do?
Clarify when you say you grew up in the woods that you did have a home.
Well, yes, I had a home, but I live out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes,
I live in the middle of the woods.
I was picturing the Goonies.
Yeah, I was imagining her with like a little stick teepee and like some burlap over the top. And then the bus came to get her. It's like, well, yeah, you're the tick girl.
So if you give your dogs flea and tick, we use NexGard. NexGard Plus. There's also the injectable version. Mm-hmm. Be careful with collies, especially border collies. They have reactions.
Australian Shepherds.
Yes.
You can have your dog tested to see whether it carries the specific gene that reacts directly to an oral flea med. And so
and if they do, then you can do the injectable.
Yes.
Like my dad's border collie, she has to do the injectable.
Yes.
Now, dad's border collie, Ness, got Lyme disease very early on in her life. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of
stigma against
Lyme disease. So Lyme disease is when a tick latches on to a dog
that carries the tick is carrying Lyme disease.
Right. And it's treatable.
Yes.
And there are markers for Lyme disease. So, for example, we just had that Yorkie that Mike and Linda
we've
were
had
fostering.
Probably a dozen or more dogs that have had a tick-borne illness that has shown up on the blood work.
Right. And so you can treat Lyme disease.
Very simply, actually.
It's
a round of antibiotics.
Yeah. And then it's 30 days. It's intense.
Yes.
As far as and depending on how you feel about antibiotics, so whatever.
Yeah.
But so you can have a dog after they go through the antibiotics, after they've been tested positive for Lyme disease. You can go in and have them tested again, and they could still have markers for Lyme disease, but as long as it's under 30.
I don't know the number, but
I think it's 30.
Yes, and you can watch if it goes down. You can do like a more intense test that like tells you what that marker is.
But once so whatever the number is, whether it's 10 or 30 or whatever, but if they are under that marker,
it's not an active infection.
It's not active. It's still there, but it's inactive.
Which
if it's above that, then you either do the round of antibiotics again, or you look at, further treatment.
Correct. I do know that I have had, of all the dogs that we've seen that have had markers for it, typically what we find is that they're testing positive for, I'm going to say this, Ehrlichia, or which is probably not right, but whatever, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Lyme disease, some of these other tick-borne illnesses for years after the infection or
Yes.
the active
Yes.
Lyme has
Ness
been
has
in
had
their
it
body.
for, she's 6 now. She's had it every year. Dad tests for it. Every year she shows up positive for Lyme disease, but it's
Because
under
she's
the
had
marker.
it. Yep, because she's had it before.
Right.
And in all of my years, and I know this happens. I know it's not. I know it's somewhat prevalent in as far as like dogs that have it and like it's not treated. You should always do that blood test, you know, at your yearly exam just to see like how things are going and make sure your dog doesn't have heartworm or things like that we're going to talk about. But I've only had one dog that I know of that has died from it. It's because they just didn't check for it, and then she started
Then
having
didn't
like
treat it.
very severe symptoms, and it hadn't been treated early enough, and so then it went bad.
Yeah.
But we've adopted out several dogs that are, you know, Lyme and Ehrlichia positive, and it's been no problem.
Yep.
So
don't let that deter you if you happen to see that on an adoptable dog
yeah,
profile.
No big
that it's
deal.
been positive for Lyme disease. It's not a big deal. As far as removing a tick from a dog, you know, Google says to wear gloves and all that bullshit. I
Eh.
don't, whatever. I just,
you got a
know.
thumbnail?
Yeah.
Get it out.
So, you know, ideally you're going to use tweezers. You're going to get as close to the skin as possible. Don't twist it. You want to just pull it straight out. And that's if the tick is embedded, which means that the tick has
Like engorged and
penetrated
and
the
perpetrated
skin
those criminals.
and has latched on to the dog. Now, if it's just on your dog, so like Stanley, he is my little adventure dog. He goes everywhere. So he gets everybody gets flea and tick, but so the ticks still come on him, but they don't latch on or they die.
Or if they do, they die.
Or if they do, they die. But then he comes and he, you know, gets in bed and then the ticks come off of him because they're not going to latch on because of, you know, his flea and ticks. And so whatever.
I wouldn't sleep all summer.
Actually, what I do, if you want a tip, I guess, maybe, I don't know.
I do want a tip.
I have,
Can't wait.
so I have a 3-wick candle at all of my bedsides.
3-wick candle.
A 3-wick candle at my.
Because at first I thought you said 3-way candle, and I wasn't sure if I had been.
Summoned by smoke signals.
Yeah.
I have a 3-wick candle everywhere, like at
She
the
didn't help herself.
Heard it again.
3-wick candle.
3-wick candle. Got
Yes.
it. Okay.
at It doesn't have to be a 3-wick candle, I guess. It could be any candle. You guys are getting weird about this.
Well, it's just we heard something different, and now we can't stop.
Anyway, I have a candle everywhere. So
Yes.
on my side table next to my couch, on my headboard, next to my bed down at the lake, like, and I always have it going. And when I find a tick, I just drop them in the wax. That's it.
He's crispied. Does it make a fun pop?
If you put a lighter on a tick,
Yes.
just be advised, depending on the size of the tick and how full of blood it is going to explode.
Yes. I remember doing this as a kid with our farm dog. It would
Yes.
be out in the pasture and stuff, and you know, every few days we'd be out petting it and we'd squeal because of the tick on there, and then
Yeah.
my dad would come out with his lighter and it was pretty dramatic.
Yeah. I carry a Zippo lighter all the time. That's what I carry, and so
Next to your
it's like
switchblade.
it's a torch thing. So they shrivel up pretty quickly, but they do pop.
Yeah.
So just be advised. Don't let that scare you. They're just
Those are dog fireworks.
their insides are boiling and then exploding. It's fantastic. So I prefer to drop them in hot wax.
Oh my god. I'm gonna get myself a rubber suit when I come out to see you.
Or you can drop them in the toilet. I do not recommend putting them in the trash can. They're going to crawl out of there.
Yes.
I
No.
don't recommend just putting them back out in the wild because
my
that's not
gosh.
helping anybody.
No. This is why we like possums. Well, I
Yes. Guineas also eat like 1,000 ticks a day.
those little baby cute birds, the
Right.
guinea fowl. Oh yeah.
I had to Google it. I typed in, do ticks serve a purpose?
No.
And
Do
yeah,
they?
Google says they play a crucial role in the ecosystem.
What do they do?
They serve as food for various animals and organisms.
Yeah, they're a food source for possums.
Well, possums are getting full on ticks.
Good. Good for them.
Oh my lands. I can't.
If
be
you have
involved.
possums and horses, though, not a good combo. Possum shit is lethal to horses.
No, I
Yeah.
thought they were like the most like unproblematic.
I like a good possum. I don't mind a possum.
I
I don't screw with the possums. They can hang out. I don't give
Yeah.
a shit. But I don't have horses, so.
It's true. I didn't know that. I had horses when I was young, but I didn't know that.
So anyway, removing the tick. You can also inspect the tick. There's different kinds of ticks.
Oh, they have a certain pattern.
If they have a dot,
they're
if they don't,
deer ticks,
blah,
that's
blah,
the
blah,
problem.
all the things.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm getting itchy talking about this.
and then if you want to go so far as to disinfect the area, like with a cotton ball of like hydrogen peroxide or alcohol, if you want to swab the site on your dog, go for it. I don't. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then dispose of the tick.
Yep. In your 3-wick candle.
Now, Stanley will have if the tick is embedded, he will have a bump on his skin surface a day or two after that.
Has he ever tested positive for Lyme?
No.
For all of his adventures?
Nope.
But he's always on
He's always on
preventative.
flea and tick. Yeah.
Good.
And he does not like those edible chews. I had to shove them down his throat.
Oh my gosh. So
They think they make them like beef flavored or
No.
some shit. It never works.
I just gave
They're like,
my
"Eh."
monthly dose to my,
Crew.
my cheaper than the dozen crew, and half of them are like, "Oh my god, Juji ate
Treat.
Juji ate 2 because he ate somebody else's because that spit it out, and then the other ones I have to shove it down their throat. It's awful.
Yep.
So
Just avoid squeezing, especially if the tick is embedded in the skin. Avoid squeezing the tick, especially if it is somewhat full of blood. If it's been there for a minute, that's just going to squeeze the blood back into your dog. So
Oh,
just try and
yeah.
like,
is
if
the
you're
head
using
gonna get
it-
stuck? Then people say that you got to get the head out of it.
yeah, but it's gonna die.
Yeah,
So
so-
I don't ever. That doesn't ever bother me. But if you use your like fingernails or fingertips and just squeeze the head and then pull straight out, it's usually fine.
They have little tools you can get to.
They
but those
do have
look
that
pretty
too.
silly.
But don't, I guess as a traumatized young child on a school bus, like let's not freak out about ticks. It's a thing. They're all over Iowa. If you got one crawling on you, it's not the end of the world. It's just a tick. It's no big deal. Just
Tell
pull
that
it
to my
off,
schizophrenia.
get rid of it, be done with it.
Yes. Well, and I do want to touch on, because of course the same preventative is the one that we use, the NexGard Plus, it does also do a dewormer.
Yes.
If you have seen fleas on your dog, which are equally freaky outy to me, but if you see fleas on your dog, they will pass along worms and parasites pretty prevalently. They're very bad. So this also prevents that. But what you'll also see, and we see a lot, is flea dermatitis. So if you've got fleas in your home or on your dogs and you don't get that taken care of, you can see major hair loss and then major skin infections that are simply from a flea infestation.
And if you have small dogs and a major flea infestation, they can become anemic.
Very anemic, and they can die from a flea infestation.
I mean, we've taken surrender dogs that are so severely anemic from a flea infestation that they're like on death's doorstep.
Yes.
So take it seriously, but it's a once a month thing.
Yeah.
And also, here to say, we get a flea and tick NexGard Plus. We get it donated. We still have tons and tons of NexGard Plus for all of the different poundage. If you need flea and tick, I know it can be expensive. Buying it from the vet can be expensive, and I'm not here to like cut profits from anybody. I'm just saying, if you need it, call us. Let us know. We'd be happy to get you some flea and tick. We've got a stockpile that we're willing to.
Yeah, I've been digging through. I think I'm finally through my boxes of the small dog flea and tick. Now I have
carry it in my car everywhere.
Yes, I have the big dog kind. I'm giving it to everybody. I know that there's some like young kids that have, I say young kids, well, we're getting older now, but they're like, 19, 20 that have their first dog or whatever, and they're really struggling. And I remember that struggling to pay for a flea and tick. It's really expensive. Just let us know. Like, I'm always happy to hand it out. And
you know what? These vets are happy to hand it out too.
Yeah.
I mean,
as much as they can. They get samples and stuff, and just ask your vet. Just say, "Hey, I'm having a really hard time this month. Do you have any samples?" And then you pay for it the next time. It's really important because the trouble with having parasites on your dog gets much, much bigger if you ignore it.
yeah. There is some debate, and I wish I would have looked into it a little more before we decided to talk about this 2 hours ago. The different brands of flea and tick
Yes.
and the
grocery
studies
store
behind the tolerance to these flea and tick meds as this
geographically.
yes, as this continues to progress. So
Yes.
there's a lot. There's what is it? Frontline.
Frontline and Revolution are pretty much completely obsolete as far as being able to treat flea and ticks.
They used to be
Iowa.
really good.
Yes.
But it's just like anything else. You build up a tolerance and it's not effective anymore.
And that tolerance is not your dog, it's the fleas and the ticks.
Exactly.
They're cool, no problem. So we had a huge flea and tick boom, I would say, right before COVID. It was really, really bad. And it was because everybody was using that on the back squeezy.
Yes, the liquid.
Liquid stuff. And
there's liquid, oral, and injectable.
Yes.
And NexGard and NexGard Plus is oral.
Mm-hmm.
Frontline is liquid. That you squeeze it on the back.
Revolution is squeeze it on the back. Anything you can buy at your grocery store is not going to work.
Yeah.
And it may burn your dog. In fact, I bought some cheapo stuff years ago, probably 15 years ago when I first moved down here. And I called the hotline on the back of the box. I was like, what is happening? They're like, get the dog in the bathtub, put Dawn dish soap on it, rinse it off with cold water, and they had actual burns from the chemical on their back. So I was like, that's the last time I ever bought anything direct from a store, and it doesn't even work anyway.
Right.
But yeah, that's true. Right before COVID, there was a huge boom of flea and tick because everybody was using that topical treatment, and it was really before the NexGard and stuff really started getting good. And there's a collar you can use too, the Bravecto collar, I believe. Oh, there's a Bravecto edible, but then there's a collar as well. That's really, really good. But everybody had fleas and ticks because nobody had it was in between. That certainly happens.
Yeah, and there are holistic approaches to flea and tick prevention, so you're more than welcome to look into that. I know lavender is a natural deterrent.
Cinnamon, I think, is one, or something like that. Cinnamon or peppermint. We had a water-based spray that we used for years before it got really bad around here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're into that, look into that. What else? Any fosters listening? Let's be sending home flea and tick with adoptions. If you need some of that on hand, let us know. We'll get that to you.
Yes. And if your pets need it, we want to make sure we're not sending our fosters into a house that has, dogs that are suffering from flea and tick infestations. Obviously, we know that you guys care about your dogs, and that's usually not an issue, but we know it happens. I've had fleas in my house before, and I've had to lose my mind and do all the things. It happens.
We've had this shit.
We've done it all. And then the other thing is just yearly fecal exams with your dogs. If you're not giving an all-in-one the NexGard Plus, really.
Oh, that's important to call out. So NexGard on its own is flea and tick only.
Yes.
NexGard Plus is flea and tick plus heartworm, roundworm, pinworm.
Yes. And the roundworm, so that's tapeworm and things like that. That is not treated by most of the general dewormer. So if you go buy Panacur or whatever, from the Tractor Supply, that's just treating pinworm type things, which is important. However, if your dog has tapeworm, that's a very serious.
What were those dogs that we just recently took in that had terrible worms? Was it those pups from? Was it the Airedales or the pups those black pups that Natasha took from that trailer?
Well, the black pups have Giardia.
Okay.
Which is another disease that is a bacterial infection that directly comes from parasites.
And Giardia is very
contagious
to your other dogs. So if you have a dog or have adopted a dog, or if your dog goes to doggy daycare and they've come in contact with feces from a dog that has Giardia, they can contract it that way.
They can. So
It's like the HPV of dogs.
And if you take your
if
dog
you breathe it in, you're gonna get it.
Well, if you take your dog to a lot of public places and you're noticing like loose stools and things, it's possible that they've contracted that. So, and that is just a bacterial infection of the intestines.
So flea, tick, Lyme disease.
Well, and the other thing I want to touch on, and some of these things we talked about are preventatives for heartworm, but heartworm is one thing that we've had 3 cases, I think, of dogs with heartworm. And
also treatable, but very intense.
Very expensive.
Very hard on the dogs.
Yes. So there's 2 different ways to treat heartworm.
Fast method and slow method.
And we've done both, and both have worked. Personally, I would stick with...
It's like the chemo versus holistic.
Yes. Personally, I would stick with the slow kill method unless we state that it's like a really difficult situation or like it
well,
makes
there's
more
grades
sense.
of heartworm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so the fast method, I guess we'll call it, they go in for, I believe, 2 to 3 really intensive treatments where it's like an infusion almost, and they get injected, and they have to like spend the night because it's like
radiation versus chemo.
Right.
Like radiation is right now.
Do it.
Gonna hit you.
Yeah.
You're gonna be down for a while.
And the slow kill method is
Chemo
like
is
you're
more
taking
like...
a chemo pill over the course of a year.
Yes.
So slow kill method is essentially you're putting a dog on that NexGard Plus.
Yep.
Every month for, I believe, a year. But the intensity of it or when it should be killed was within that like 6 to 9 month period. And
you're just doing maintenance after that point.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's another note to like keep your dog on that type of, preventative so you don't have to deal with this, because when they have an active heartworm infestation and they're having to go through this, it's very hard on their body regardless of which method you use. But I would say that half of our vets say they won't do the slow kill method because it's old school, right?
Yeah.
To do the fast kill, and they know that it works. But the other half is like, it's really tough on the dogs. Dogs can die during this heartworm treatment. We think that, this dog, because it's otherwise healthy, would be fine.
On like strict kennel rest.
Yeah, they can't move. They can't do anything after their treatments when they have the fast kill.
It's
intense.
It's also physically and not just physically, but mentally hard on a dog.
It is. Yeah.
Because they don't understand it.
No.
They don't know what the hell's going on. They just know they're cooped up and can't do anything.
Yes. So anyway, it is treatable. We have been lucky. In Iowa, heartworm is not as prevalent as it is like down south of like here, Missouri.
Anytime we bring a dog up from anything
below Iowa.
below Kansas.
Yeah.
Really. Oklahoma, Texas.
It's probably going to have heartworm.
Even Missouri.
Yeah.
Depending on their age and where they came from, heartworm test.
Yes. So it's less common in Iowa, but you still should do that yearly testing. You should keep your dog on a preventative. Heartworms are spread by mosquitoes.
Mm-hmm.
So we know we have plenty of those in Iowa, so it's a totally likely thing that your dog may be exposed to that. So we want to keep them safe.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's all the things you never wanted to know about flea and ticks.
That's right. Do what you feel is best for your dog and work with your vet when you're experiencing or when you're about to jump into this spring and summer months when all of these creepy crawlies are around. Yeah.
And does the DHLPP, does this fall into that? The lepto?
So leptospirosis is spread by water sources and by feces of wild animals. And so leptospirosis is a disease that can be prevented through a vaccine, but I am just on the very light end of things going to say, please research the L in your DHPP or DLPP. We do not do the lepto vaccine because there are some we've experienced and
I think
research.
I talked to our vet in Boone about this.
Yeah.
And actually I talked to Jamie about this too, our retired DVM that's kind of helping us out on the sidelines. And the lepto it requires a booster. Mm-hmm. So as a rescue, that's very difficult to manage.
DHPP requires a booster too.
depending on age, right?
Depending on if they've had it before.
Okay. So the L in DHLPP stands for leptospirosis. It's a bacterial infection that can cause kidney and liver disease in dogs. And it's more, my vet recommends it for me because of where I live.
Yes.
And because my dogs are more exposed to feces of other animals.
Yes.
So, depending on where you live, talk to your vet, of course, but that might be a whole nother podcast. I didn't mean to bring that in.
It is a whole nother podcast, and we'll research this a little bit deeper if we decide we want to dive into it. For me, a couple of my dogs get the lepto vaccine because they're more adventure dogs, and they might go out to the lake.
All of mine do.
Not all of mine do. So
but that's a perfect example.
Right. Yes.
You're a metro, you're going to the dog park.
Yeah.
I'm rural.
Yeah.
I live rurally and I'm exploring.
Yes, and you're going to water sources and things like that.
Yes.
There are some hypersensitivity reactions that can come with specific types of dogs. So like dachshunds, some sort of terriers, things like that can have severe hypersensitivity reactions and swelling and vomiting and sickness from the lepto vaccine. So just talk with your vet, talk about your lifestyle with your dog, and you can decide whether or not you want to vaccinate for that. But it is a relevant topic as what we're related to what we're talking about. It's what are you doing with your dog? What is your lifestyle like with your dog? Does it make sense to do that?
Leptospirosis is spread through contact with the urine or contaminated water of infected animals. So, we're adventuring in a pond that literally last year a deer died and
in the pond
and drowned in my pond.
Oh
so
my God.
That is a perfect example of
yes, and
shit that
leptospirosis
happens.
is not
Stanley's just out there yeah, let's do that.
Yes.
Let's go swim out there.
Deer gut.
That sounds fun.
But yeah, it can be fatal. It can affect multiple organs, kidney, liver. It's a very serious illness, but talk with your vet about whether or not they believe that might be right for you. And like I said, about half of mine get it, half don't. For the rescue, we just do DHPP because we want to leave that up to the potential owner, once they start vaccinating their dogs. So
yeah, and I think you're gonna find metro vets are explain your environment
right
to them. Just because you're seeing a metro vet doesn't mean that you live in the metro.
Right. You could say we like to go hiking.
We have a pond on our property, or hey, we have a creek running through our backyard,
or we have a ton of deer that walk through our backyard, that type of thing.
Right. Sorry, that doesn't really fit into all this.
Well, it does because it does because it is seasonal. That type of interaction and things, it's really kind of all in the deal. So definitely something to pay attention to. And then, if you're noticing, especially this time of year, if you take your dog on adventure dog, as we like to say, and they start acting not quite right.
Right. Oh, actually, side quest.
We like these.
In my Facebook memories, it just popped up 2 or 3 days ago. So, I have a garden and I have a compost bin.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember this?
Yes, I do.
Scary shit.
Yeah.
So I have a compost bin, and a few years ago, I throw all of my kitchen waste into it. So peppers, onion, and anything that's going to decompose.
Right.
I throw it into my compost bin, and you spin it. But over the winter, obviously it freezes, and so nothing is actively decomposing in the wintertime.
Right.
And then a few years ago in the spring, I was like, oh, I'll just dump all of this out onto my garden because I was going to till it in.
Right.
And it was going to decompose in my garden. That was the whole point.
That's why you have a compost bin.
Exactly. Yes. And so I did that, and everything was great. And then, was it Stanley or Sharky that went first? One of them started acting really goofy. I mean, it was Sharky. He got up in the middle of the night, and he was staggering all over, and he was acting funny, and he wouldn't settle down. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and he was just, guts were rolling. You could hear it, everything. I'm like, what the hell? And then the next morning, Stanley started having seizures. And I was like, oh my God. I was literally walking out the door on my way to work, and Stanley started, grand mal. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. So I scoop him up, And I rushed him to the vet, and he in the 12 miles from my house to the vet, he had shit all over me.
Oh,
just
God.
like your story last week. I mean, everywhere. And he is seizuring in my lap while I'm driving. I'm full blown panic.
Oh, yeah.
Freaking out. I mean, this is my Sandman.
Yeah. I
And
remember this. It was scary.
I get to the vet, and what had happened is he went out and ate that compost.
Uh-huh.
And he became toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to hold him overnight, and they did fluids. And then the next morning, Sharky started doing the same shit. And so I obviously recognized it, rushed him to the vet, and did the same thing all over again.
Did they share a room in the hospital?
Oh, so all of that to say, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about this.
No.
Obviously, or I wouldn't have
dumped it out in your
I wouldn't
garden.
have done it where they could access it.
Right.
So, if you have a compost pile, if you decompose your kitchen waste, just be careful with your dogs being able to access that.
Yes.
Going into spring with mice and whatnot, make sure that your rodent control is put up and out of reach for your dogs. They have those little box things that you can put the rodent control in.
Yeah.
That stuff gets really scary really fast.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody that works out of the home, that should get, I was literally walking out the door to go to work.
Right.
And I would have been gone all day, and Stanley wouldn't have made it.
No.
Wouldn't have made it.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
just be careful, be
the
cautious.
Same thing goes for like out in the wilderness and things like that. If you're in water source, try to keep your dogs from drinking. Like, I know it's hard because they're running around and whatever, but drinking like pond water, that type of thing.
What is that called? Where they,
I think
they drink that
I thought it was leptospirosis, but maybe it's like a different. If they get sick from the pond water, there's something else. But, there's a lot of bacteria and stuff like that can make them super sick, super fast, and it's like
blue-green algae.
Yes.
Cyanobacteria can cause liver failure, seizures.
Yes. Yeah, and it's like that, and they're gone. Yeah. So anyway, pay attention to your dogs. But if they are telling you that something's wrong.
Yeah.
Go. So
this is just a season. Everybody's been cooped up forever.
Yeah, we're ready to
go outside.
Yes.
We're ready to adventure. Everybody wants to lose that winter weight. They're taking their dogs with them. Yeah. Just keep an eye on them.
Yeah,
with the pollen, with the allergies, ticks. All the things.
Yeah, just know what you're in for this time of year, and again, if you're in the area and you need help with any sort of those types of things, let us know.
Or if your neighbor needs help, or if your friend needs help, your family members need help, let us know because we got it. Yeah, and I want to get rid of it.
Seriously,
it was donated to us. I want to donate it.
If you've got a 75 to 120 pound dog, I have a lot of flea and tick.
I still got all the way down to 8 pounds.
I need more of the little stuff. I've given all of that away.
I got some of that.
I got a bulk of the big stuff, so I'm gonna need a little.
This is why we need our little store.
I know.
If anybody knows of a cute little space that we could maybe take over.
We want a little foster zone. Where
we want a little storefront that we could have little meet and greets and store all of our crap in.
Seriously, I'd like to have my studio back.
I'd like to have my garage back. I've got 21 kennels stacked up in my garage right now.
Oh, yeah. I got at least that many. I got 21 kennels in one night.
If you need a kennel.
Yeah.
By the way.
I got one in the back of this rental car. Oh, my lands. All right. Well, that's it. We're just warning you of things to be afraid of, but also, also we're very excited for summer. So
go out and have fun with your dogs.
We want to go out and have fun with our dogs and be safe.
Yeah. So. We'll figure it out.
Oh my dog.
What I mean when I see, what I see, what I feel, when I dream, when I be, I'm a freak, what up? Oh, what up? Everybody look at me when I'm free, when I feel, what I see, when I do it, I'm a freak, what up? Oh, what up? Say what we got, it's hot to spot, give up the drop, see what we got, do what? We got to go, the body flow, too hot to show, the front row, we won't stop.